What happens when a basketball legend moves to one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in Los Angeles, challenging social norms and prejudices? In Oakridge Estates, where each property is a symbol of power, LeBron James's arrival brought not only admiration, but also resistance. In the minds of many residents, especially Eleanor Abernathy, a retired attorney, his presence was a threat to the tradition and tranquility of the place. For Eleanor, the change represented a disturbance that needed to be fought against, and she saw herself as the guardian of the required order. Soon, LeBron would become the center of a conflict that would reveal not only the prejudices of the environment, but also the strength of a community spirit that could be awakened. LeBron, with his new mansion filled with luxury and a private basketball court, just wanted to create a new life for his family. The shine of his career was not prepared for the discomfort he would face in Oakridge Estates. The first call from the Homeowners Association came shortly after his move, and Eleanor, in a cutting tone, complained about the noise his children were making while playing. LeBron felt the tension in the air, but tried to stay calm. With each new call, the situation became clearer. Eleanor was not just concerned about the noise, but about what LeBron represented. Hostility intensified when he received an anonymous note stating, "People like you don't understand what it means to live here." It was a direct blow, and LeBron had to take action. He decided to organize a basketball championship, an event that could unite the residents and show his true essence. By distributing invitations, he hoped that people would see beyond their differences. On the day of the event, while the children ran and had fun, Eleanor watched with crossed arms, skeptical. But the excitement of the championship began to break down barriers. When LeBron confronted Eleanor, stating that he was not there to change Oakridge but to belong to it, an awkward silence fell, followed by timid applause from some residents. By the end of the day, an emotional neighbor approached LeBron, sharing how her concerns had dissipated, agreeing that her fear of change was the real problem. The event was a success, and Eleanor's prejudice began to lose strength. LeBron not only challenged the norm, but also showed that a home is built on bonds and mutual respect, transforming his presence into a symbol of unity. The conclusion of the basketball championship in Oakridge Estates brought a new energy to the neighborhood, but the tension between LeBron and Eleanor had not completely disappeared. Even after the event, the retired attorney continued to watch from a distance, increasingly uneasy with the player's presence. The reality was that her resistance was not limited to just the noise or the disruption caused by the children. For Eleanor, LeBron's arrival symbolized a change in everything she knew and valued. She felt as if she were losing control over a space she had defended for so many years. Meanwhile, LeBron was trying to adapt to this new life. Basketball had always been his refuge, but now he found himself struggling in a much more complicated field: social accessibility. He knew that his fame could be an advantage, but also a disadvantage. What he wanted was a home, a place where his children could play freely. But Eleanor's and other residents' resistance became an increasingly difficult obstacle to ignore. The championship was a success, but the victory was short-lived. Determined to protect her territory, Eleanor began mobilizing other residents. She held meetings to discuss the invasion that LeBron represented, and, in one of those gatherings, proposed restrictions that would limit LeBron and his family's activities. Eleanor's words resonated among some neighboring residents who, although they did not harbor direct animosity toward LeBron, feared what his presence could mean for the neighborhood's future. Upon hearing about these meetings, LeBron felt the pressure mount. He was not just an athlete. He was a father, a husband, someone who wanted to create a safe and welcoming environment for his family. The idea that his presence could cause discomfort and division left him distressed. Nevertheless, he decided he would not back down. Instead, he resolved to meet with the residents, including Eleanor, to discuss their concerns and clarify his intentions. The first meeting was tense. LeBron arrived with a smile, but upon looking at Eleanor, he realized she was not willing to yield. The attorney presented her vision of a preserved Oakridge Estates, where traditions were respected and change was unwelcome. LeBron, on the other hand, spoke about the importance of inclusion and how he could contribute to the community. As voices rose, the tension became palpable, but the conversation eventually turned into a heated debate where emotions began to overflow. In the meantime, other residents began to voice their opinions. Some supported LeBron, affirming his value as a sports icon and his intention to promote a positive environment. Others, still cautious, wondered if change was really necessary. This division began to create fissures in relationships, and LeBron found himself at the epicenter of a conflict that seemed to be intensifying. While LeBron struggled to integrate into the community, he also faced personal challenges. The pressure of being a role model extended beyond basketball. He felt the weight of expectations and the responsibility of being a good father and husband amid a whirlwind of controversies. The tension affected his mental health, and he began to question whether he was doing the right thing. Sleepless nights became frequent, and the workouts that once served as an escape started to feel like a burden. Eleanor, in turn, began to reflect on her own motivations. As time passed, she found herself questioning whether her resistance to LeBron was truly out of love for the neighborhood or a reflection of her personal insecurities. She realized she was clinging to a past that might never return, and that her struggle against change could be isolating her even further. This introspection, though challenging, began to pave the way for a possible reconciliation. The situation became even more complicated when an unexpected incident occurred during one of the community meetings. A group of young people, drawn by LeBron's fame, decided to invade the basketball court at the lodging one night, causing damage. As news spread, tensions during the meetings escalated, and Eleanor used the event to intensify her campaign against LeBron. For her, it was proof that the player had not served the community. LeBron felt devastated. He knew he wasn't responsible for the actions of others, but the incident affected his image. The feeling of betrayal and emotional pressure culminated in a breaking point. In a moment of despair, he decided to step away from the court and focus on his family. This pause, however, made him realize he needed to find a new way to connect with the community. At that moment, Eleanor began to reconsider her actions. Seeing LeBron's pain and frustration, she questioned whether she was truly fighting against a man or against the very change she feared. This reflection led her to make a decision. It was time to put aside their differences and seek a solution that would benefit everyone. Thus, the clash between the two would become an event for an unexpected transformation, not just in Oakridge Estates, but in the lives of each of its residents. The situation in Oakridge Estates reached a critical point after the incident at the basketball court. Anger and fear loomed over the community like a shadow, and the tension between LeBron and Eleanor seemed stronger than ever. For LeBron, the pain was deep. He had moved to that neighborhood with hopes of creating a welcoming home for his family, away from the pressure and expectations that often surrounded his life as an athlete. However, what should have been a fresh start turned into a nightmare. After the vandalism, he felt powerless. The voices that once supported him were now silenced by fear and distrust. In his mind, he couldn't understand how a group of young people could tarnish the effort he was making to integrate into the community. What hurt him the most, however, was the realization that Eleanor would use this incident as proof that he and his family didn't belong there. Meanwhile, Eleanor felt increasingly anxious. At first, she believed she was fighting for a greater good, but as days passed, the reality of her actions began to weigh on her. What had once been a clear battle between the new and the old was now becoming a muddle of emotions. The fear of change transformed into guilt. Seeing LeBron suffering, she began to doubt whether her efforts to protect the neighborhood were truly helping or merely deepening the divide. On a rainy night, while trying to relax at home, Eleanor received an unexpected phone call. It was one of the mothers from the community, inviting her to an informal meeting with other neighbors. The conversation was filled with discontent and anger, and soon the topic of LeBron's actions came up again. But as she listened to the comments, Eleanor realized that many were feeling bad about how things were unfolding. They empathized with LeBron's pain and the impact the division was having on the neighborhood's children. The ringing phone reminded her of LeBron's sad expression during the last meeting. What did she truly want? To protect her home, or to create an environment where everyone could coexist? That night, feeling more confused than ever, she decided she needed to act, not only to redeem herself, but to find a path through the chaos. The next morning, Eleanor resolved to go to LeBron's house. It was a decision that made her feel vulnerable, but she knew she had to confront the situation. Upon arriving, she hesitated at the door, but determination drove her to ring the bell. LeBron answered, surprised to see her. The atmosphere was charged. Both knew that the conversation about to take place could change everything. Eleanor took a deep breath and, with a tone of sincerity, began to speak. She expressed her concern about the situation and how guilty she felt about how things had unfolded. LeBron listened in silence, his expression of pain slowly transforming into one of understanding. He also revealed his frustrations, his struggle to feel accepted, and his worries about the impact the situation was having on his children. It was a moment of vulnerability for both. The conversation flowed unexpectedly, and soon they found themselves discussing not just problems, but also dreams and hopes for the neighborhood. Eleanor began to realize that LeBron was not just a famous athlete, but a father who wanted the best for his family, just like her. The resistance she felt began to dissipate, giving way to an understanding that both had longed for. At the end of the conversation, LeBron proposed an idea. What if they organized a community event, a day of activities to bring everyone together, where the children could play and the adults could get to know each other better? Eleanor was surprised by the proposal, but something within her accepted it. It was an opportunity to rebuild ties, to transform rivalry into collaboration. The event became a landmark. Throughout the day, interactions among the residents changed. The children, who initially saw LeBron as a stranger, ended up seeing him as someone who was willing to care. The adults, in turn, realized that change didn't have to be something to fear, but rather an opportunity for growth. The day ended with laughter and animated conversations, and as LeBron looked at his family's smiles, he felt that he had finally found a place where he could belong. Eleanor, for her part, noted that the true protection of her home wasn't in resisting change, but in embracing new friendships and experiences. They both knew that the road ahead would still be challenging, but together, they were ready to face whatever came their way. The struggle between the new and the old transformed into a collaboration, and Oakridge Estates began to shape itself into a place that could be welcoming to all, regardless of their differences. The summer festival night in Oakridge Estates arrived, and the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. LeBron and Eleanor were tasked with organizing a presentation that would highlight the community's diversity. As preparations progressed, an unexpected storm formed, threatening to undo all their efforts. Dark clouds gathered, and strong winds began to blow, creating a sense of despair among the residents. LeBron felt adrenaline coursing through his veins. He knew this was his chance to show the community that he was not just a famous athlete, but someone who genuinely cared. Eleanor, on the other hand, felt paralyzed by anxiety. She feared that all her efforts to accept LeBron and the changes would be in vain. But looking at the children who were excited for the event, she decided she couldn't give up. With the storm approaching, LeBron took the floor. He urged everyone to come together to help set up the stage and protect the equipment. What began as a jeopardized event quickly transformed into a collective effort. Under concerned gazes, LeBron and Eleanor worked side by side, encouraging neighbors to join them. It was an intense scene, where tension mixed with determination. When the rain finally began to pour, the residents gathered under a single makeshift roof. Laughter and shouts of joy emerged from the storm, and LeBron realized that true strength doesn't lie in winning, but in coming together. Eleanor, seeing the community spirit flourishing, felt her heart warm. There, in the storm with rain falling and thunder roaring around them, they could face any challenge together. The bond formed at that moment was not just a friendship, it was a new family born from accessibility and love. The storm passed, but the unity that formed in Oakridge Estates remained. LeBron, now more than just an athlete, became a symbol of strength and resilience for the community. He reflected on how that event not only overcame difficulties, but also changed his perception of what it truly means to succeed. For him, the real triumph was the ability to unite people and celebrate their differences. Eleanor, by his side, noted that the insecurities that had once plagued her had dissipated. She saw how friendship and accessibility could create deep and lasting bonds, evolving not just herself, but also the community around her. Together they understood that love and solidarity could flourish even in the most intense storms. With this experience, they both invited everyone to share their stories of overcoming and unity. After all, each person has an important role to play in building a stronger community. Share your experiences in the comments and inspire others to take action. The time to act is now.